Welcome to the Literature Lounge, where writers and authors share their stories behind their stories.
The society needs to know something different doesn't mean abnormal. So they need to be all inclusive. That is very important. You can't burn a book by just one bad page. So relationships building requires your egolessness also and try to make adjustment with that. There is a scientific term called cognitive behavior therapy. Cognition is basically your thinking process, and that is the first step, and the reaction to that is the behavior. So rewiring means rewiring the nerves so that your thought process is all right. Rework means your behavior. So initially you wire your thought process, then it comes out as the behavior part, and ultimately you reclaim your life which has been lost in the stress. So this is rewire, rework, and reclaim.
Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Dr. Rajiv Mehta, who's a senior consultant psychiatrist and vice chairperson at the Institute of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, Sir Gangaram Hospital, New Delhi. It's an honor to have him with us today. He's also a professor of psychiatry at the Gangaram Institute for Postgraduate Medical Education and Research. For so over 2 decades, he has been helping patients bring positive changes in their lives. Now, we're going to talk about his book, Rewire, Rework, Reclaim. Dr. Rajiv Mehta identifies and acknowledges the triggers that take one towards anxiety and depression. He helps one rewire the emotional responses to such occurrences and understands the root cause behind the triggers. I think I need to have a one on one consultation with Dr. Rajiv Mehta. The book is based on his experiences spanning over 2 decades and gathered through spending thousands of hours treating individuals and mental health issues. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mehta, today. And let's talk a little bit about your book. What has been the key motivation for you to write your book, and what was the inspiration behind writing this book?
See, uh, there have been lot many books in the market regarding stress management, but nothing of them has come from the pen of a psychiatrist. So that compelled me to write something which is necessary for the society. And then my spiritual guru, who also forced me to write something so that it is useful for the society. Do something which is not commercial. Do something which is for the benefit of the society. So I had a lot of experiences, and I knew typing also on the keyboards. So that was further help. Then I used to travel in the metro. So I had a lot of free time. And then the COVID also came. So further more free time. So all the ideas then culminated into writing the book, which is Rewire, Rework, and Reclaim: How to Manage Stress.
So the title of your book, Rewire, Rework, Reclaim, is very captivating. Could you give our listeners, a brief overview of what this method entails and how it can really transform lives? People do talk about rewiring themselves, but किस तरीके से इसको आगे लेके जाए बहुत सारे लोगों को समझ कम है इस बारे. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. See, there is a scientific term called cognitive behavior therapy. Cognition is basically your thinking process, and that is the first step, and the reaction to that is the behavior. The consequence to that is the behavior, and ultimately you live the life. So, rewire means the nerves, they are all interconnected. So, rewiring means rewiring the nerves so that your thought process is all right. Rework means your behavior. So initially you wire your thought process, then it comes out as the behavior part, and ultimately you reclaim your life, which has been lost in the stress. So this is rewire, rework, and reclaim.
How can one identify and acknowledge the triggers that take people towards anxiety and depression? Because ऐसे बहुत बार होता है घर पे मैं खुद अपने बारे I'm going to tell you that पता नहीं समझ में नहीं आते there's something that's triggered me and my entire mood will go downhill, and one doesn't know how to come out of it because it's like a loop unless like I've eaten something sweet, unless I have probably bought something online. I don't know how to control that trigger. Please tell us and tell the listeners what they should do, and how do you identify triggers?
Just like love, identifying triggers is just identifying your love. Basically, when a person is in love, जब वो प्यार के अंदर होता है तो 24 hours he is thinking about that, whether it is a love with somebody, or whether it is some object, or whether he has to buy something, he will keep on ruminating and thinking about this. He will scroll through the internet कि क्या देखना है, कैसे करना है, कौन सी चीज लेनी है, तो 24 घंटे वही चल रहा है दिमाग के अंदर. So similarly, when the triggers keep on ruminating in your mind, they obsessively come in your mind and you are thinking about that thing. आप खाली बैठे हैं, वही चीज दिमाग में आ रही है, आप सोने चाह रहे हैं, वही चीज दिमाग में आ रही है. That means that is the stress trigger for you. So this is how we identify the stress trigger.
And how does one come out of it?
Yes, then basically it is not a simple answer. It is a complex answer. Whether it is a acute and short term thing or whether it is a chronic and long term thing, then you need to identify further. उसको फिर dissect करना है कि क्या क्या हो सकता है. Then the problem is that the people do mental and verbal tasks to come out of that. It is better to jot that down, written things, pros and cons, or the steps to be taken to improve those things. So in this way, they will find something or the other, a solution to help them come out of that trigger.
सी मॉडर्न लाइफ आजकल के ज़माने में स्ट्रेस थोड़ी ना कम है किसी के भी. वी आर ऑल स्ट्रेस्ड आउट विद समथिंग और द अदर. डेडलाइन है, ईएमआईज़ है, सो मेनी अदर थिंग्स. What are the common stress triggers that you've noticed, in your patients? Because you deal with so many patients regularly. And here I want to bring in this 3R that you talk about, right? How does this method help, in dealing with stress?
Right. See, basically, we can classify them into few things. Either they will be relationship, they will be financial, or they will be professional or academic. Then they can be further classified. There can be subclasses of that, like marriage, pregnancy, infertility, job loss, increase in economic power, promotions. So this is the way we can classify them. So the most common stressors which are now we are seeing these days is either related to the job pressure, that there is an employer who is demanding too much and employee that cannot give that much as per the employer, because their expectation is more rather than the person is not doing good enough. Then the second most common stressor is communication problem among the people. So these are the two most common stressors which we are seeing nowadays. And the third is drug dependence. Fourth is digital dependence. So these are the most important stressors which we are facing nowadays.
I tick mark
And
two. I said I tick mark two, Dr. Rajiv. It's terrible.
yes, yes, it's terrible. We also fall in that category sometimes. We think and then we RRR. Then we rewire, rework, and reclaim our life. Then somebody of us in the family tells, okay, you are seeing too much of phone. You keep it aside. So then we rewire ourselves. Yes, we are doing that. We are doing that. And then we work on that. We keep the phone aside. So similarly, when there are so many stressors, then you need to identify what is exactly like if we talk about employer and employee. So the employer is too much demanding and employee is doing his best, but still the employer is not satisfied. Then the thing comes कि you identify that कि now the employer is taking me to the top. So I have to be assertive. Then there will be a further new limitations or new boundary settings. So you have to be assertive. If assertiveness is not working, then you have to think of a job switch. Or if that is not possible, then there are ventilations and self management skills like yoga, exercise, talking to somebody. So these are the some of the skills which can help you bear the stress or control the stress or prevent the stress also.
In your book, you also talk about positive life changes, like marriage can cause stress, which we know today. There are so many marriages that are falling apart. And you have to agree with me on that.
Sure,
Mm, There's a
sure,
huge
definitely,
rise. Yeah.
definitely.
So, can you explain, why that is and how couples can really navigate this transition? Because such it's a huge transition in a person's life. How can they navigate that?
See, basically, any brain doesn't know ki what is positive, what is negative. The mind or brain knows ki there is a change happening outside. So any change which requires a new adjustment, that change by the society may be considered positive, like marriage, like your increase in economic power, like your promotion. That is a change and it will require a new adjustment. So that will be a stress for the brain. So similarly, marriage is again a stress for the brain, whether it is a positive event in somebody's life. But what happens? कि marriage is an event, marital life is the journey. So marriage is itself a stressor because there are premarital stresses, there is career on the stake, there is love interest or arranged marriage. So arranging the event, that is again a stress. The economics involved, that is again a stress. Now coming to the marital life, which is a downfall. Basically, before marriage you are not 24/7 with that person. It's a courtship which is going on, whether it is an arranged marriage or whether it is a love marriage. So at that time the person will show his or her best, and love is blind. Even if there is something negative, the person will just close his eyes or her eyes, that no, this we will manage in the further life, we can manage this in the further life. But once there is 24/7, there is a taken for granted attitude, that over pampering, over concern goes away, then the real life issues come over. And then there is a tussle, there is a comparison between the previous life and the current life. So, how to manage that? That is given in the book, but a few things. Basically, the most important cause for marital fall is the non communication or the miscommunication. So, takes time out, both of the couple, and discuss the things which is making them falling apart, and just write down the steps. Again, write down, not verbal or not mental, write down the steps which can help them, and then try to work on them. Give a time bound try, and everything can again, they can again come closer.
So, there are so many people who are experiencing single parenting now, and so many people living away from extended families. मैं अपने बारे ही आपको बताऊं, that having shifted to Bangalore, मेरी जो सारी extended family थी Delhi में. I'm a Delhi Bengali, and
Right.
my mother is with me, and there are so many challenges, that presents, in life, which you don't kind of really put together when you make these changes, of moving from one city to the other. And I'm a single child. My parents have moved into Bangalore because of me. How can individuals really rework their support system, because support system just keeps decreasing over time?
Yeah, see, there is a famous saying, every rose has a thorn. So there are pros and cons to each and every situation, and single parenting or nuclear families are a truth nowadays because of whatever may be the reasons, and that is killing the generations, and it is going to grow further because of the further attitude of having a single child or a dink phenomena. Dink phenomena is basically double income, no kid, and then the support system goes totally haywire. Basically, when these changes are happening, at that time the person is very young and he has a lot of resources or health at his or her hand. The finances are on his or her hand. The person doesn't think of long term consequences. So thinking of those, nowadays we see that lot of old age homes are coming over. So one day we may be there, God knows. So thinking of those things, one has to create a support system since beginning. So that needs to take a priority over other things. तो आपको करना क्या है कि आपको समझना है कि मैन इज अ सोशल एनिमल. विदाउट सोशल, लाइन बनेगी, मैन इज एन एनिमल, एंड नाउ द मैन इज टोटली अ वर्चुअल एनिमल. सो यू नीड टू थिंक फ्रॉम द बिगनिंग कि आपको करना क्या है. सो बेसिकली फ्रॉम द initiation you need to know ki from where the support system can come. So you join with your families, their parties, their functions, whether it is happiness or sorrow, more in the sorrow, because you will require many persons in your difficult times, not in the happy times. So join them, do your duties at that time, join your friends, have a common gang of friends. और उस वक्त नो ईगो प्लीज कि इतना सा कह दिया और हम तोड़ दें. No. So relationships building requires your egolessness also. So do meet them, do join them in their functions, and try to make adjustment with them. So these are the three steps, and regularly meet them. So these are the steps in which you can create your support system for long.
What a fantastic answer, Dr. Rajiv. I This has really touched my heart because I think छोटी छोटी बातों को लेके हम लोग कितने सारे रिश्ते तोड़ देते हैं क्योंकि ईगो इतना ज्यादा हमारे अंदर रहता है that we forget the long term benefits of the friendships that we've had, or even family relationships. Um,
Yes. Well, that said, na, like, you can't burn a book by just one bad page.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You can't burn a book by just one page. Yes, absolutely. Now, I have a very, very heartfelt question because I went through this. We don't talk about empty nesters, which is one of the most difficult transitions for parents, when children leave their homes. So, Jesse, in my case, I will share with you, my child was my purpose. When I was at home and I was a homemaker, looking after my kid, when he came back from school, it was that time that I looked forward to. And of course, he grew and he left the country to study abroad. Today, he's working there. The emotional upheaval that one faces, one needs to rewire that, using your word. So, how can parents really rewire their emotional responses and reclaim their sense of purpose after such a huge shift? Because India doesn't yet talk, about empty nesters. Please share your views on this.
See, it all depends ki for what purpose the child has left home. In your case, he has left for a good purpose. Sometimes the children leave their parents for a bad intention also. Like there is a fight. नई नई शादी हुई, सास बहू की नहीं बन रही, घर छोड़ दिया। घर छोटा है, माँ बाप ने निकाल दिया कि भाई तुम दोनों जाके रहो। So whether it is a cordial or uncordial separation, that is the most important thing. If it is a cordial separation, जहां दोनों के उससे हुआ है, when
Understanding.
consent से हुआ है, so
Mhm.
then to regain the life, it is easier. At that time, again, whatever you have sacrificed during the life, so there may be many things, the bucket list which we say, which is still there. And if both parents are there, then there is a bucket list of both the parents कि हमने क्या क्या चीजें करनी थी, कहाँ कहाँ घूमना था, क्या क्या करना था. So reinvent that bucket list. That is very important. Don't think, oh, we have grown old, or no, what we will do right now. So the life begins after the child has gone somewhere. Then it is the phase of second honeymoon. So enjoy yourself, reinvent your bucket list, do invest in that bucket list. Don't just keep on what we say gathering money only for your children. Spend that money. So in this way you can rewire whatever the friends you have left behind, जिनके साथ आपने पहले बात करनी थी, जो रिलेटिव्स आपके पहले थे जिनसे आप नहीं मिल पाए, go with them now. You, if it is retirement, you go to them, you call them. So this is how you reinvent yourself. In this way आपकी हेल्थ भी अच्छी रहेगी, आपके सपोर्ट सिस्टम भी अच्छा रहेगा, और आपका रीवायर, रीवर्क और रिक्लेम भी हो जाएगा.
Thank you so much. This will really touch so many people, the advice that you're giving. So, your book also touches on LGBTQ issues and unique stresses faced by a very marginalized community. So, what are some of the challenges they face in terms of mental health? And how can they rework their coping mechanisms to build resilience? Because the truth is this, that as much as we know that today LGBTQ is accepted, but the truth is that many families are not ready to face uh, many realities with their own children. So where do these sort of children, or relationships that falls apart of having lived together and they're not married, so they cannot go to the court or even claim anything, so where do such couples go to?
See, that is a topic which is very close to my heart. I have a chapter on gender dysphoria in International Book on Plastic Surgery. So LGBT community faces a lot many mental health issues, and there are two problems. One, they don't know they are facing those problems. Number two, they are not willing to come out to a proper psychiatrist to solve them. Number three, then there are financial issues because they are marginalized. There are a lot of financial issues. So all in all, they are more prone for mental illnesses. So now the government has taken good enough step to recognize them. Now, if we see any kind of form, there is third gender,
Yes.
right? And like there was a work on women empowerment, equality. Similarly, thankfully nowadays there is lot of promotion on that, and they are assertive, and they have start coming out. So by just scrolling through the net, they can come to know whether they are suffering from mental health issues or not. And when they go to a psychiatrist or somewhere, they need to be assertive. They need not be shy, because it is a god given, it is not an illness, it is a way of life. Like homosexuality initially considered to be an illness, now it is considered as a way of life. Similarly, LGBT, it is a genetic part. Most of it is genetic part. Where it has gone wrong, we don't know, but they are not responsible for themselves. It is how they have been wired since beginning. So they should be assertive, and they should not be shy of themselves. Simultaneously, more than that, the society needs to think. The society needs to know that something different doesn't mean abnormal. So they need to be all inclusive. That is very important.
Though we are far away from there, you agree, right?
Definitely, we are very far away from there. Very, very far away from them. And government needs to support them with finances, because changing, see, one of them, that is gender dysphoria. LGBTQ is a broad term. One of them is transgender or gender dysphoria, they in which we work a lot. So they need to change their body shape also, and which requires a lot of money, from transforming a female body to a male body and male body to a female body. So finances are a very great obstacle for these persons. So the government and the NGOs should chip in. The doctors do their part. There is no doubt about that.
Um, there is sex and sexuality, which can be a source of fulfillment and stress too. So, how
Yes.
does your book address these topics? These are very touchy topics. And what advice do you offer for people grappling with related mental health challenges when it comes to sex, sexuality, and fulfillment?
See, there are two sayings. Either the tension can be in the head or downwards. Or if you are iffy here, anxious here, then you can be stiffy downward. Then you can't be stiffy downward. So it is a cyclical process. Your sexual incompetence or difficulties will impact your mental health, and that mental health will further again impact your sexual performance. Or it can be the other way around. Generally, what we have seen is sexual difficulties are because of the psychological things. The most common reason for sexual difficulty is psychological. So, in today's scenario, 21st century, when everybody is so busy, we require three things for a proper sexual encounter or a performance, for a proper sexual performance. द फर्स्ट वन इज, जैसे वो एक हमारे यहाँ पर एक दिल्ली पुलिस की लाइन है, समय सेवा सुरक्षा। इसी तरह से हमने इसको तीन वर्ड्स में बना रखा है, समय सुरक्षा सहयोग। समय इज टाइम, so the couple should have adequate time to perform, and it should be adequately timed. What a couple nowadays does is they wake up early in the morning and perform late in the night. So after 14 or 15 hours of hard work, आप खुद खड़े नहीं हो सकते. You are mentally and physically tired. So how can you perform? And then one performance makes the chain reaction. So it should have adequate time. It should be adequately timed. Second is there should be enough physical and mental security. कोई आ तो नहीं जाएगा, बच्चे जाग तो नहीं जाएंगे. So these kind of things, मैं satisfy कर पाऊंगा नहीं कर पाऊंगा. And third, the cooperation of the partner is most important. So if these three things are fulfilled, the sexual life will be very healthy. But now coming to the part where it is related to mental health issues. So आपको करना क्या है कि if there is initial difficulty, then there can be some blood test, or you identify whether you are suffering from a mental health issue or not. Then you reach a proper mental health professional. The professional can be a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist. Go to them, discuss them, discuss with them. Don't go to any sexologist. Sexologist is not a degree which is provided by any government institute. They are just
Thank you
labeled.
for saying that, Dr. Rajiv Mehta. Please repeat that because a lot of people do go to sexologists, and there are so many ads that keep running. So there isn't any degree called sexology.
There is no degree recognized by NMC, that is National Medical Council, called sexologist. Three people deal in this. सबसे पहले psychiatrist, because 90% of the sexual problems are because of psychology. Don't think it as a stigma. दिक्कत क्या है कि साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास नहीं जाएंगे या साइकेट्रिस्ट के पास नहीं जाएंगे कि ये तो स्टिग्मा हो जाएगा, मेंटल हेल्थ इशू है. द सेकेंड वन इज एंडोक्राइनोलॉजिस्ट, द थर्ड वन आर यूरोलॉजिस्ट. सो दिस इज द स्टेप्स कि पहले साइकेट्रिस्ट के पास, फिर वो कहें तो एंडोक्राइनोलॉजिस्ट के बाद यूरोलॉजिस्ट के पास, तब वहां जाना है. एंड द हैप्पी थिंग इज दैट all the things are treatable provided you get a good doctor and then you follow that doctor. सपोज देर इज अ स्मोकिंग इशू, आपको स्मोकिंग बंद करने के लिए कहें ताकि आपका सेक्स ठीक हो जाए, आप नहीं करें तो फिर ठीक नहीं होगा. सो अंडरलाइंग इश्यूज को रिकॉग्नाइज करके चीजें ठीक की जा सकती हैं. एंड आई हैव हेल्प्ड n number of patients in this. The people
Wonderful.
who were undergoing divorce, court cases were there, they have been taken back because of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying this. Let's now talk a little bit about digital dependence, which is a big theme in today's world. So many of us are constantly glued to our devices, which can increase stress, which we don't realize. And I'm definitely one of them. What advice would you have for our listeners, on how to reclaim their focus and find balance? I need to hear this with my ears totally cocked up because I need to know. Every time I'm sitting alone, I scroll. So, and I think I represent a whole lot of people like me, who are so dependent on their devices because it also goes back to that question of being in a nuclear setup where there are not too many people around you and you probably don't want to go out after a very long, hard day. And what you do is you find entertainment through your phone. What can we do, to reclaim this? Tell us, Dr. Rajiv Mehta. This is so important.
हम रिक्लेमिंग की बात ही क्यों कर रहे हैं? पहले तो हमें ये समझना, बिकॉज वी नो कि कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ हो रही है. So, like everything has rules and regulations, you need to make some rules and regulations for the digital life also. Digital life can have two kinds of uses. दो तरह के uses होंगे. One is professional and one is non-professional. Professional आपकी मजबूरी है, non-professional आपकी मजबूरी नहीं है. वहां पर आपके rules and regulations should come into play, and that has to be decided from the beginning. अब डिपेंड ये करता है कि who will monitor those rules and regulations and what to do if you are not putting your life in the digital part. So you have to be self monitoring for themselves, for yourself, और या आपके कोई फैमिली मेंबर, सपोज 2 or 3 people आर लिविंग, सो एक दूसरे को आप कर सकते हैं कि भाई अब फोन ज्यादा है, अब फोन ज्यादा है, अब फोन ज्यादा है, ये 2 मिनट और करके छोड़ना पड़ेगा. समस्या ये है, प्रॉब्लम इज दैट कि इट इज यूज फॉर प्रोफेशनल यूज ऑल्सो एंड नॉन प्रोफेशनल यूज ऑल्सो, एंड वेन यू आर यूजिंग दैट you don't know. And the second problem is that the child is put that habit since beginning, क्योंकि हम बच्चे को रोता हुआ देखना नहीं चाहते और शुरुआत से उसको चुप कराने के लिए फोन दे देते हैं. तो
Absolutely.
वहीं से शुरुआत करनी है. आपको अपने रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस बना के रखने की, नॉन एकेडमिक यूज या नॉन प्रोफेशनल यूज कितना हो, कोई आपको मॉनिटर कर रहा हो, और अब उसकी जगह करना क्या है. तो हम पुराने जमाने में क्या करते थे? वी हैड बोर्ड गेम्स, कार्ड गेम्स, वी यूज टू चैट, एंड नाउ वी हैव अ बिग, जिसको हम पहले इडियट बॉक्स कहते थे, अब वो इडियट बॉक्स छोटा हो गया है, एक बिग इडियट बॉक्स है. आप सारे मिलकर इकट्ठे उस इडियट बॉक्स टीवी को देख सकते हैं ना, आप बात कर सकते हैं. ब्रिंग योर फिजिकल बोर्ड गेम्स, ब्रिंग योर कार्ड गेम्स, प्ले दैट. आई डू इट विद माई डॉटर. अब मेरी बिटिया के साथ सीधा प्लान है कि जब मैं क्लिनिक से आऊंगा, चाहे मैं कितना भी थका हूं, मेरे को फोन नहीं देखना, मेरे को फोन एक साइड रखना और बेटी के साथ बैठ के आधा पौना घंटा कार्ड गेम या बोर्ड गेम खेलना है. उसको फोन पे टीवी नहीं दिखाना, फोन पे कार्टून्स नहीं दिखाना. एंड द बेस्ट थिंग इज कि हमारे जमाने में तो सिर्फ लूडो और कैरम होता था, अब तो इतने सारे बोर्ड गेम्स हैं. गेस हू, ओथेलो, स्कॉटलैंड यार्ड, पता नहीं कितने बोर्ड गेम्स मेरी बेटी ने जमा करके, एंड डिफरेंटली हर डे पे आप अलग अलग खेल सकते हैं. देयर इज वेराइटी. So this is how you can reclaim your life.
You've also written that stress impacts other body organs, and what are those impacts? And, let's talk a little bit. I was reading about autoimmune disorders, that a lot of women are the first people who suffer from autoimmune disorders, which are all stress related. I myself have had an autoimmune disorder that really left my, one eye that I was almost going, an arm that couldn't go beyond my elbow, and a bandage on my foot. And of course I had to take medication for a very very long time, and we somehow reversed the problem. And I do meet a lot of people today who's talking about autoimmune disorders, and they're all stress related. Am I right?
You're totally right. 100% right. And I am thankful to you that you have brought this question here. अब हमें समझना क्या है कि what we need to understand कि this is an organ in the skull which is called brain. हमें ब्रेन दिया है भगवान ने to control the stress, to bear the stress. But what does it exactly controls? It controls our behavior. It controls our motor system, हाथ पैर चलना लिखना खाना, motor system. It controls our sensory system, देखना सूंघना सुनना टच, सारी sensory system brain से चल रही है. It controls our hormonal system. Hypothalamus and pituitary, they are the master hormone glands, they are situated here. It controls our immunity, from where the autoimmune disorders come, and it controls our visceral organs, pate, dil, kidneys, they're all controlled from here. So in case any stress comes, it doesn't mean that it will impact only your behavior. And in the one who are very highly cognitively functional, उनके behavior में नहीं आएगा, they can manage their behavior. Then it boils down to the other body organs. वो किसी भी organ में आ सकता है. So then it impacts each and every cell of your body. So what you can have hypertension, you can have diabetes, you can have autoimmune, the immunity goes for a toss. And the simple immunity goes for a toss when it is less, then there are allergic reactions, bronchial asthma, IBS, sexual difficulties, motor neuron disease. And if the stress is not controlled, then it can lead to dementia also in the long run. Then infertility, PCOD, hormonal problems, these are all linked to stress. Let me give you an example. आदमी जब नया नया धरती पर आया तो इतनी सारी डेवलपमेंट नहीं थी, वो रहता था जंगलों में. अब जंगलों के अंदर होता क्या था, डर किस चीज का, स्ट्रेस किस चीज का, जंगली जानवर का.
बिल्कुल.
अब जब जंगली जानवर सामने आएगा तो इंसान करेगा क्या, या तो फाइट फाइट और फ्रीज, फ्लाइट फाइट और फ्रीज. फ्रीज हो गया, जानवर ने खा लिया, काम खत्म. भागने और लड़ने के लिए क्या चाहिए, एनर्जी. एनर्जी सबसे पहले कहां से आएगी, ग्लूकोज. ग्लूकोज मीन्स शुगर. सो फिजियोलॉजिकली शुगर हमारे ब्लड के अंदर बढ़ जाएगी उस टाइम. सिमिलरली अब शुगर का उसका फ्लो बढ़ाना है, तो ब्लड फ्लो बढ़ेगा तो बीपी बढ़ गया. अब उसकी कंजम्पशन बढ़ानी है, कंजम्पशन बेटर करनी है, तो ऑक्सीजन चाहिए, तो रेस्पिरेशन रेट बढ़ गया. सो इन केस ऑफ इमरजेंसीज और स्ट्रेस, शुगर, ब्लड प्रेशर और रेस्पिरेशन रेट, ये तीनों बढ़ जाते हैं. बट उस टाइम होता क्या था कि वो स्ट्रेस रहना कितनी देर है, या तो आप बचोगे या मर जाओगे. विद इन 10-15 मिनट्स आपकी एनर्जी खत्म हो जाएगी. सो बच गए तो जैसे आफ्टर 400 मीटर स्प्रिंट आपका सारा कुछ वापस नॉर्मल हो जाता है, तो सारे पैरामीटर्स नॉर्मल. मर गए तो बात खत्म. सो नाउ कम टू 21st सेंचुरी. अब वो स्ट्रेस रेगुलर रहता है, तो बीपी और शुगर, एंड दिस इज हाउ इट गेट्स कन्वर्टेड इनटू इलनेसेस. इट इज टोटल साइंटिफिक, राइट.
It's so
अब जब वो
connected.
बीपी बढ़ा रहेगा तो वो आपके हार्ट पे इम्पैक्ट करेगा, तो फिर वो हार्ट डिजीज के अंदर कन्वर्ट होगा. सिमिलरली मस्कुलोस्केलेटल डिजीज हो जाएंगे. सो द स्ट्रेस इज रिलेटेड टू, इफ आई आस्क माय कलीग्स, 90% of the people have stress related illnesses.
Can you share a real life example, from your practice, which has had a profound impact on you? And how did you guide that person through the process of rewiring, reworking, and reclaiming his or her mental well being?
Right. So it is difficult to pick out one, There have been so many. So if I pick out one which is the most nearer to my heart, the nearest to my heart, most nearest to my heart, that will be, this was a person, he was around 40 years old, a lawyer by profession, who came to me with his daughter who was around 10 years old. प्रॉब्लम ये थी कि बच्ची को चश्मा लग गया था और ऑप्थेल्मोलॉजिस्ट ने मेरे पास भेजा था। चश्मे लगने का कारण डिजिटल डिपेंडेंस। द गर्ल वाज इन टोटली इनटू डिजिटल डिपेंडेंस। व्हेन आई आस्क्ड कि व्हाई द मदर डजंट see her or controls her, he started crying. He said that the mother is responsible for her digital dependence, क्योंकि वो इंटरनेट गेमिंग में लगी रहती है, वो अपना पीछा छुड़वाने के लिए इसको फोन दे देती है कि भाई मेरे को गेमिंग करने दे, तू फोन खेल। So that means the mother was more into digital dependence. Thankfully, the mother was called, and the long term consequences were shown to her कि अगर आप ऐसे खेलते रहे, she was healthy, तो और कितने healthy हो जाओगे। She started having diabetes, और कितना बढ़ेगा। बिटिया के ऊपर क्या असर होगा। If you are not going to give her love, where she will find love, whether she will go haywire or not, whether you will be able to control her at that time, whether you will be able to take that responsibility and guilt at that time. If somebody emotionally tortures her or blackmails her, तो she understood. सो करना कैसे है, फिर उनको ये रीवायर किया, जब थॉट्स समझाए उनको कि क्या क्या हो सकता है। सो यू रीवायर योर थॉट्स। देयर कैन बी मेनी अदर वेज इन विच यू कैन ज्वाइन योर डॉटर एंड यू कैन एंजॉय योर लाइफ। अगेन फिजिकल गेम्स आए, कार्ड गेम्स आए, बेटी के साथ घूमना आया। सो दिस इज हाउ दे वर रीवायर्ड कि आप सोचो होगा क्या, आप अपनी सोच बदलो कि कैसे कैसे आप एंजॉय कर सकते हो। देन दे रीवर्क कार्ड गेम्स, बोर्ड गेम्स, फैमिली टाइम, वेकेशंस, regular dinners out, device free dinner time. That is again a very important concept in digital dependence. Device free dinner, what I tell my patients, to have device free dinner, no gadgets at that time, starting from making the plates to washing the plates, तब तक आपके कोई भी gadgets नहीं चलने चाहिए unless until बाहर से आ रहा है। So coming back to that real life example, so the mother lost at least 20 kgs of weight because of that, because of regular exercise and doing those things, rewiring herself and reworking herself. And then the family was a healthy family, but it took 1 year for that reclaiming the life. On the other hand, I had another family where I had to tell the parents to admit their son into a rehab center, and another patient where I had to tell the parents to send their son to a boarding school so that the digital dependence can go away. They could not reclaim their life.
Heart breaks with all these stories because this digital dependence is just growing more and more. And sometimes I think that I'm fortunate that I could raise my child at a time when there was no digital dependence at that time. And
Like we were raised.
yeah, like how we were raised. So thank you so much, Dr. Rajiv Mehta, for being on today's podcast. What message would you like to leave the readers with, who picked up your book or going to pick up your book?
See, what I will tell is that life is difficult. As we are modernizing or so-called progressing in life, I don't see it as a progress, frankly saying. But the world says that we are modernizing and progressing. The life is becoming more and more difficult. And then we talk about going back to the roots. And for that, you need to rewire. And then rework also on those terms without any fear. So you pick up the book so that you can rewire yourself, rework, and go back to the roots so that you can have less stressed life. I won't say that stress free life. Stress will always be there because you have to lead the life, you need money, you need everything, and you are not the only one who's running the system. But definitely you can rework on that so that you can reclaim some part of your life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on today's podcast, and we wish you lots and lots of luck. Many more books coming from you. And this has been an amazing podcast. You've touched on so many topics that are so close to my heart. Thank you for taking all the time today, Dr. Rajiv Mehta.
Anytime. And I'm so thankful.